Alrighty, sorry about that again. Alright, so, whoops. That way too bright. That didn't help either. Where's my... Just had it, lost it. Where's this bloody thing? There it is. Alrighty. Open that up somewhere visible. Gonna bring that over to the left. And I'm gonna give a little bit for people to be alerted. That's the right word. We'll go with it. And yeah, we'll get down to business. But anyway, so essentially what I've had some thoughts of doing, because since I have about easily more than almost 40 of these things now, I had the thought of, why don't I go through every single deck I have, every single one, and pretty much go through each card and just be all, okay, if I get like this card, Three of Pentacles, how do I view it? Good, bad, dreadful? And by that is all going to be opinionated. And give more of an alternative perspective of how just this one card can mean and what I see. Because the lovely thing about the tarot is that one card can be saying so many things at once. And ultimately, there is no really one all good or all bad card, because that's just not how the tarot is. It's just what it is. Hello, Kayla. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to get all the suities lined up and all in order. I'll mainly just get like the suits separated. And I'm going to be starting with the major arcana first, and I'm not going to be going in order with them. Just as long as they're in the right suit, that's all. Oh, right in front of my face. Hey, where the heck did that one go? Well, if you look, you see that one has a blade on it. Because also, believe it or not, for me, even the most happiest card in the deck, supposedly, like, it's actually known as the best, brightest, happiest, yay card out of all of them all. It's the Sun. It has a very dark, potential malefic side to it. The happiest card in the deck can be extremely baneful and bad. You better believe it. But how? It's like happy and bright and woozy-wooey. Just wait till we get to it. Just wait. Seems like all those there. Let me just double try to make sure all the pigeons are lined up. And by lined up, meaning they're all in the right suit and not off and God knows where I land. Okay, I got the sharp pointy things there. Okay, there's all those the blue wet solo cups there. I'm going to be going through the Raider-Waite Smith, kind of like a general, like the standard. It's actually, believe it or not, this is actually one of the most well known. And I figure I might as well just keep it basic at the beginning, so that way, in a way, somewhat everybody can kind of, hopefully, in a way, be able to understand it to some extent. So I got the wet, the windy, the stick, the blunt and pointy, and now we got to get the rock solid ones, or pentacles. There, there. And also with the tarot too, because since I'm strictly an intuitive reader, meaning that I don't read every deck the same way. One, for example, one Queen of Swords, like for example, the Witch's Tarot. That Queen of Swords actually has her holding a sword and literally flipping off someone, it looks like. While the Queen of Swords from the traditional Celtic tarot, I believe it was called. But either way, that one actually has like an elf queen figure. She's holding a harp, and she's sitting on an ice throne with the sword in the ice. To me, both those Queen of Swords are completely different. Because you have the first Queen of Swords, who's literally doing that to someone. And then you have another one, which is playing a harp, and she's just perfectly serene. You have one who's sassy, and one who's actually using her emotions and sound, which is air, together. So it comes off completely different. And of course, these are not going to be in any general order. And of course, most certainly, I'm not going to be just sticking to the standard, well, usually this is what this card means. Because I don't like being basic. Okay, let's get this show on the road. First, the majors. We're just going to be going random card by card, so let's begin. First, blood. The world. Well, funny. Looks like going backwards. So the world. Let's see here. Usually when I see the world, I feel kind of I feel somewhat neutral about it because it's showing that something has come full circle and the last bit is all finished. But the only downside about the world is that it's essentially the ultimate death card. Whenever I see it. Ultimate death card? What do you mean by that? Well, the world, and funny enough, it's right in front of me. The world and death are actually near identical. But you wouldn't know that if you just looked at it by glance like that. Because the world, something's ending, so that way something new can begin. Same thing with death. Death is the same way. Something has to end, so something new can begin. It's completed. The new foundation is now set, being the thing that's ended. That's the new foundation, and what begins follows. Death, the same thing. The only difference is that you have one that's ending and starting anew with kind of a more of a deeper maturity and completion, meaning that it's not going to be ending in a way that there's more to this. It's like the final nail in the coffin, metaphorically. While death puts something that has to be stopped, so that way it can come anew and start again. For me, the world is very neutral for me. Like, okay, it is what it is, and I'm also not doing it like if I got a reverse, because I don't do reversals. I don't. Unless of a rare occasion intuitively says keep it reverse. And usually the world is seen as a Saturnian card. In a way, I can understand it because of how it's depicted. But the thing is, If anything, the World card is more of a... It's essentially a combination, if I had to say, having Rahu and K2 together again. Because you have Rahu, what's being sought after, then you have K2, which is the mastery. You have one part going up, that's Rahu, and you have the other part going down below, being K2. You have the nodes coming together in the center. And in the center, you have, essentially, that would be the moon altogether. Essentially, the one who pretty much is the hard drive for the karma to come about. And then you have the fixed signs Taurus, Leo. Excuse me. In this case, but what about Scorpio? Well, the thing is, instead of it, there's Taurus, Leo. I heard my phone vibrate. I'll get that in a second. You see how there's the man head and then the eagle? Well, in this case, the eagle would be most likely Aquarius, because Aquarius is the highest. But because of how Scorpio is able to be, in a way, spiteful, but also the most devoted, you would actually see man being on that side. But again, depending on the depiction. But usually, the fixed signs are the ones that actually help. They're the ones that are able to kind of give a fixation on how something can be completed. But also, here's another thing I bet you didn't know. In order to get to the world, the full completion, you have to go through the moksha triangle, which are the water signs: Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. The thing is, now, at the heart or the center of all those moksha water signs, the moksha signs, at the heart is Saturn. Saturn's the one that gets you to completion and liberation. He's the planet that gets you to it, believe it or not. And the other three sign, like the three other elements, like fire, earth, and air, depending on which one you're looking at. The grahas that actually are at the heart of them, believe it or not, they're actually none of them are. It's not Sun. It's not Mars. It's not even Jupiter. Jupiter is not the one that actually has anything to do with a dharma, moksha, artha. It has none of them actually have the heart point, believe it or not. But that's for a different video. So the world altogether, again, I'm neutral about it. To me, it's just like the death card, but for good. Next major, the Wheel of Fate. So the Wheel of Fate. Now, the thing with the Wheel of Fate, it's a kind of... The Wheel of Fate is essentially, the way I look at it, again, for me, it's another neutral card, because it shows that existence, or how things are like going about, it's just natural progression. Some things have to go up, some things have to go faceplant, and then it all comes back around again. It's full circle. People associate this card with Jupiter, Guru, in a way, but for me, I pretty much just look at it as essentially... I see it actually more as a Saturnian card, again, because the thing is, no matter what happens, everything has to faceplant in life. Everything. Well, what about somebody who has all the with all the fame and money and all that stuff? But they're not going to be faceplanting with their wealth. They're going to be faceplanting with their health, or love life, or intelligence. Something is always going to be going on the up. Then there's some things that's going to be like throughout their whole life. There's nothing perfect in anybody's life. And the thing is, every sector goes up and all goes down. So, in a way, it's also the world and Wheel of Fate are similar in the state of progression, but the Wheel of Fate does also have the kind of the element of the death card somewhat. Another thing ending and then something else can come up. And for me, it's again a neutral card, meaning that it is what it is. Not good or bad. If I've ever get it's like, well, existence is rolling onward with or without you, so just be aware of that. Next one. She who's most high, the High Priestess. Now, the High Priestess, for me, whenever I see her come up, number one, for me, it's always a positive card. Meaning, you essentially have the feminine in front of you. And the feminine is quite excelled in the intuitive, the best healer, the most intelligent. Yep, the most intelligent, the most spiritually gifted, the best advisor, the best assistant. Yep, I'll say that again. The best advisor, the best assistant, the most knowledgeable. And she is also the one who's actually more alert and more focused. So usually when some people think when they see the High Priestess as somebody or a state where something is being kept quiet or silent and possibly being plotted or kept secret, I don't see it that way. I see the High Priestess as either an individual or a state that's actually giving you its full attention, or you're giving your full attention to it. And you're able to actually connect to it and being able to see what others can't see. Or we actually have a figure being represented by the card. For me, I see it as somebody who is at the ready listening to you and is ready to give you advice or guidance, or somebody's holding space for you. Of course, I see it as a lunar card, obviously. But again, I also see it's a Saturnian card. Does every card have to be Saturnian? Not all of them. With this card, though, it's like a combination of Saturn and Moon together. Because Saturn's a planet that's able to silence himself and listen and focus and give his full attention. Moon, well, again, High Priestess. Any feminine card or any feminine energy is Moon, and any masculine energy is of the Sun. And that does include, like, say, if you are recounting from, like, say, Shinto, like that's the right one, how Amaterasu is of the Sun and Tsunogi is of the Tsunogi, my bad. Tsunogi is of the Moon, and Amaterasu is of the Sun. That gender association still fits. But that's a rare thing when they're actually put backwards, but they're still a divine feminine, and also solar. So they kind of can fit in both. And for me, High Priestess, usually most of the time I always see it as a positive. But again, this all depends on the depiction and how it's being presented. The Emperor. Usually when I see this, I think of for me, I see it usually as somewhat more of a potential soft malefic card, meaning that you have Surya, the king. Sun is the king. You have a mild malefic because can burn and cause damage and can be a little bit overkill and authoritative. Can also the Emperor be depicted as a feminine and still have the same energy? Well, yeah, the same way. But in this case, when I see this Emperor, I think if I see somebody who's like from Sparta and is trying to use intimidation on who's ever looking at him and being a bit authoritative. So an intimidation factor does not sit well with me. Because if you're an emperor and if you're leading your country, you should not have to be all about everything. So, me, a little bit more on the mild, neutral, but a little bit lenient towards the painful side of it, most likely. Usually, whenever I see it. But again, depending on the depiction, it could be either a good one or a bad one, depending on what deck I'm using. Next one. Oh, this is a good one. The Tower. This is like the Death card, except overkilling it. Now, whenever I see the Tower, well, obviously, some people think, oh, the Tower. Oh, snap, that's not good. This is where I'm going to start getting a lot of people be like, what's wrong with you? Are you masochist or something? No. The Tower comes up. I say, it's one of the most positive cards. What are you, nuts? No. Point is, the Tower. You have divine intervention coming in saying, hey idiot, this is going down. And we're going to be knocking all this down because it's crap. And now you have to have a new foundation to build off of. And if anything, this is probably another Saturnian card. Because now you have Saturn coming in and giving you the reality check and knocking over something that you were investing in and you didn't put in your full effort. So it goes back to square one. And that's what Saturn does in transit. And actually, that's probably the best thing that you want to have happen. Because not only do you have him coming out of nowhere and saying, this is crap. No, do it again. And some people, when that happens, they're like, why is Saturn so mean to me? Well, he cares about you so much, he'd rather it knock down and you land on your face before you get too high up and you get even more damage than you already were going to be. Because a wise person notices that when it happens, they come to realize, oh, Saturn actually is pointing out the flaws. And I'm so grateful he's doing that because I now know what part I need to focus on a lot more when I rebuild. That's why, again, Saturn is the most caring planet. He wants your best to be put out there, and he wants you to think everything through before you put it through. That's what he's supposed to do. He's not doing it to be all like, I haven't hit this one in a while. Okay, now I'm gonna wait a little longer. No, that's not how he works. And again, for me, tarot card is always a positive card. Something that has to be knocked over in a way that even like divine intervention comes in and throws two people out the window and has everything go face plant. But generally, again, it's something that comes out of left field and it's not expected. Next one, the Hermit. The Hermit, for me, the Hermit is, well, again, it depends. Not because of the depiction, but overall, the Hermit is a card that's all about the self. Going into seclusion of the self and to pretty much look within and pretty much let go of everything around him. And to actually hold the lantern in front and also to be able to listen to divinity and then have it be guided to him. The Hermit, believe it or not, is actually a card that's more associated, honestly, with K2, the South Node. Because K2 is just meh with everything of the 3D. That he wants to let go of everything and then go within. And the Hermit mimics that perfectly. It is actually one of the most at peace, but is also, again, another Saturnian card because as an elder figure, he's been through all the life's BS, and now he wants to experience something much more rewarding that can't be experienced on the 3D. So the Hermit, it can usually be more of a positive, as more of a neutral good in my opinion. But again, depends on the depiction. Next. Oh, here we go. A lot of people are going to look at me weird, but I give no bloody damns. The Devil. Ooh. Okay, well, let me just get it out of the way. The Devil, whenever it pops up, immediately it is one of the best cards for me to get. The Devil? Really? One of the best cards that you can get? How in the heck is that possible? Where do I start? Well, first and foremost, the Devil. It's actually, let's see, well, we'll start with the first one that comes to mind. You have essentially the mimic of the Lover's card. When you have two figures come together, divinity comes from it. But because the lovers coming together to make a new unit, here you have the lovers coming together to make a unit. But because of how the belief of Satanism is, because the Baphomet figure is the figure that's in the devil card, the focus of Satanism is to better the self. So you have relationship bettering the self with the devil. Is one of the best cards to get in relationship reading because you're having a connection bettering you. Mm-hmm. But isn't it a toxic card? Yep, that's only the negative side though. You have to look at it neutral. On my personal viewpoint, one of the best you can get. But again, another way that is positive is saying to enjoy the 3D around you, enjoy your senses, but know your limit. If you don't know your limit, this card's going to mess you up. And actually, this is also a good card to give you a reality check, being like the devil's advocate. Ruining the party and making everything be like, oh, a buzzkill, but kind of telling you the truth and how it is, which is a good thing. And that's also kind of being considerate of someone. So that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And being bound to something, no. Mm-mm. Being bound to something toxic, no. The thing is, everybody can make a choice to do something. Everybody, including somebody who's acting like in a big hissy fit. They can make the choice to stop hissy fitting. They can make a choice to stop acting out of line. They can. But some people say, oh, they can't do it. Yes, they can. If you can make a choice to get up and move, get up and use the bathroom, go up and do something, go up and smack someone, go and hug someone. If you can take action on that thought, you're making a choice. You are. Whether you're aware of it or not, you're still making a choice. Good, bad, dreadful, it doesn't matter. You're still choosing to do X or Y. So whichever choice you use and go with, you can only hold yourself responsible for it. But can you choose to be stuck to something that's harming you? Yes. Can you choose to break away from it or not let it affect you or pretty much completely put on the front, showing that it doesn't bother you? You can. Does it affect you? It can, but only if you allow it to. But if something has been affecting you for a long time, that's completely different. Then you have to get out of that pattern of it. But there are some things that do require professional help in that case. But the devil, whenever I get it, positive card. For me, it's always positive. So addiction is positive? No. Besides, addiction, at the core of it all, is essentially enjoyment to something, but you cannot live without it. It's like being obsessed about something. But obsession is another word for devotion. It's just another way of saying it. But that's none of my business. What do I know? Let's move on to the next one before it gets a little bit too crazy. The moon. People automatically think, oh, that's a bad card because secrecy and things being kept hidden. And, things of anxiety in the dark. Ooh, no. When I see the moon, immediately I think Nyx, the feminine, the moon itself, Chandra. Seeing without your eyes. Yep, see without your eyes. And then that's when you can see everything. To me, it's a positive card if you know how to work with it. Meaning, you have to trust your intuitive side more. And that's not really deception, unless if you're going to be looking at it through only that malefic lens. The positive side is that this is the time to actually be more focused on the intuitive, and you might actually have a feminine goddess figure trying to connect with you. See without your eyes. That's when you can see everything. And trust your intuitive more. Don't let the physical world blind you from what really is going on. Trust your feeling. Next one. And again, coming up randomly. Next one, the idiot, the fool. Me, I see the fool as completely neutral. Fool is neutral because the fool is also associated with Surya, the soul, the sun, because it's essentially the eternal. Because card 0, the circle, is eternal. And the fool is the soul that's internal and indefinite. But also because of the dog right there at the bottom, you can even also say the fool is related to K2. And also because of the knapsack. Both of those are indications of K2. Because the fool having that stick with his sack on it sounds so bad. That's the stuff he's accumulated from past life. And K2 is actually a significator of dogs. You have 2 K2 symbols right there. So you can have either Surya, the sun, or K2 represent this card. It shows infinite potential and the soul at its purest, but also because since it's purest, it has infinite potential. It can go one of 2 ways: infinite potential for sattva, or infinite potential for rajasic, or infinite potential for tamasic. Meaning, infinite potential for sattvic, meaning that it has infinite potential for the highest form of nature, which is the deva. Highest form of rajas, which is essentially having the most highest potential of enjoyment in life, which is the asuras, or if you want to be technical, the demonic. Oh God. Asuras are people, human beings. That's Ashura, or demons. Oh, what do I know? And then there's Tamasic. Tamasic is Rakshasas, and that's the destructive to get something, meaning that one might have to do something that causes immense harm just to obtain a goal. It's not bad or good, just what it is. So the fool has infinite potential for anything, so that's why for me it's neutral. Next one, strength. For me, strength is a neutral card. It's also a Saturnian card. But how's it Saturnian? Isn't it a Leo card because it has a lion in it? Yeah, that's just so basic. Yeah, of course it has a lion in it, but just because it has a kitty in it doesn't mean it should be Leo like that. Come on now. What is the woman doing to this lion? She's holding its head shut. What planet says, nope, stick it? Which planet does that? Saturn. Do you think the sun is going to be able to handle restriction like that? Because it's also another thing too. Saturn's symbol is the infinity symbol, also the number 8. And also, since the sun represents Leo, is Leo, the lion, there's the lion, but now the woman is closing the lion's mouth shut. Saturnian card, you're having the sun being suppressed. What planet wants to suppress the sun? Saturn. So strength. For me, it's a positive card. It's telling you to pretty much have self-control and self-restraint, and understanding that damage can be done when you open your mouth and act out of line. I'm going to grab something real quick. But in all seriousness, no. Strength is, again, some people think it is a Leo card, but then again, if you're just looking at it from just the line being there as the reason why, that's just lazy. What's really going on in that picture? Is it really the lion that's actually the main reason why strength is there? Or is it because the woman is there actually holding the mouth out of the lion shut? Whichever it is, well, because the thing is, Saturn as a planet is actually, believe it or not, much more powerful than the sun. I mean, for goodness sakes, when Shani was born, he actually literally eclipsed Surya, blinded him. As soon as Chaya showed him, here's your son. Oh, let me see my new son. Oh, oh man. What? What's wrong with you, Surya? Hello? Dude, what's wrong with you? Yeah, he got eclipsed. That's wrong. Saturn is strong enough to suppress and restrict the ego. So, strength is more of a Saturnian card than a Leo card and a Sun card. It's heavily Saturnian. Heavily. And again, this is my viewpoint. And for me, that makes sense. Next one. Death. Pretty much something ending because it has to end for something new to come in. And believe it or not, death is actually a card about nourishment, believe it or not. How is this nourishing? How in the heck can that be nourishing? Simple. When something kicks the bucket, best example, when you have animals die and decompose, the bones, they go into the earth. And when something seeps into the earth takes it and makes new soil and makes a new foundation for plants to grow on top of it. Like the circle of life. What dies becomes what feeds the now. And what is coming from the dead is the new. The new turns into the present, and the present then turns into what ends. And what ends is the foundation for the new to come from. And death, believe it or not, is actually very gentle. It takes it and it's gently moving it through. But the tower is the same thing, but it's like with it. Death wants to just gently take it over. Tower's like, okay, sick of this shit. And for me, positive card. And there's also another way of looking at it as well. How nobody can bribe death, and death, believe it or not, is actually doesn't discriminate. But what about people who have near-death experiences and come back to life? Are they going to die someday? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just because it wasn't their time, they're still going to die. That doesn't discriminate. Everybody's going to die sometime. Even if they don't, they come back. Okay, give it time, and then death is going to come again. There's only one thing in life that's essentially everybody's entitled to, and it's death. That's just what it is. That's the only thing that every person is entitled to. Have a bucket of their own and then kick it. Everyone. Don't matter who you is. Coming from a realistic perspective, everything kicks the bucket. Everything. All things must die, but those that are remembered don't die. Bit of a paradox there, but that's the point. Next one. The Chariot. For me, I see the Chariot and I see it as, but with this deck, I see it as very conflicted. You have two polar opposites being put together, and then you have someone in the center trying to have control and have them do and pretty much move forward as a unit together with all three. The problem, though, the two sphinxes are not in motion. They're sitting down like, meh. The look on their faces clearly says it all. You want me to do what? Nope, I'm going to sit still and do nothing. Nope, sorry, dude. I'm not moving. So this card, actually, for me, kind of shows that there has to be a lot of effort to make this unit work together. Because right now, it looks like nobody is willing to get the ball rolling. The man in the chariot is just sitting there like, come on, what's going on here? And you have the sphinxes just sitting there like, meh, not moving, not doing it. So there has to be a lot of action for this unit to work. So, in honesty, it's kind of a neutral card that needs a lot of attention to get the ball rolling. It has potential, but it has to have effort be put into it. The star. For me, I see the star and I think of it as a card that is very rejuvenating and restorative. It is a somewhat benefit card, but at the same time, it is a card that needs you to be able to be emotionally in tune, but also realistic and practical, and also having a divinity figure guide you at the same time. So this one is the star is more of a spiritual awakening card, in my opinion. And it's a wish granter or wish inspirational card. Neutral, not bad, not good, but it does kind of give an inspirational to it and rejuvenate. Next one, he who's hung most, the Hangman. When I say the Hangman, I think again, this is another one of those cards that I see as completely neutral. But if you don't understand it, then it could actually be a very painful card if you're not looking at it from another perspective. Because the Hangman, believe it or not, it's actually when you flip him, he's now actually enlightened. Because that's what the symbol of the sun behind somebody's head is. That's the enlightenment symbol. But in this case, you actually have somebody having the head, which is Aries, down in the 12th house. Because you hear the bottom, there's 12th, the feet. And then, because now you have Pisces, then you have Aquarius in the complete polar opposite. So now you have Pisces, Aquarius, then you have Capricorn, Sagittarius, Scorpio, Libra at the hips, then you have Virgo in the stomach, and then you have Surya or Leo, the sun, in the center, Cancer at the heart, the rib cage, the Gemini is the arms, hands, phalanges, Taurus is the neck, face, and all that, then Aries is the head and the whole physical body. Now you have it all flipped upside down. This is having the Pisces Lugna. But now when you flip it, you now have it naturally as it's supposed to be. So now you have it reversed. So the Hangman card, for me, I see it as a card that's again neutral. And how do I feel when I get it? I need to be able to see from a different perspective and be patient with it. Because enlightenment, sometimes you have to flip things. Yeah, I don't know why people are driving out on their motorcycles at this time of night, but people at their finest. Oh, here's a good one. Oh, look, it's the Hierophant. Immediately, when I see the Hierophant from the Raider-Waite Smith, immediately, baneful card. Malefic. Instantly malefic. Don't like it. But why? What's so scary about the Hierophant? That's the Pope. And the Pope pushes Catholicism. Okay? This is the number one thing about Christianity that tells you. If you don't believe us, you're going to hell. No. You don't need to have your practice and your belief system intimidate you into believing it or bribe you. No. Absolutely not. And since the Hierophant as a card, and actually as even the Pope figure himself, he's kind of bedazzled to the extreme. I'm just saying. That's just what it is. When you have a figure being so bedazzled and being like a guru figure, is he really a guru figure? Does a guru figure need to be that bedazzled like that? No, it doesn't. But the thing is, the Hierophant is a card that can intimidate people. It can easily intimidate someone. But isn't it a marriage card? Yeah, it can be. It's about tradition, but in this case, I see it and I think somebody thinking that they know and they're claiming to be of the pretty much the like a guru of the divine and being self-claimed as one. No. Guru does not come from the person who's teaching his mouth. It comes from those that they're teaching. And the Hierophant, whenever I see it, depending on the deck, because completely depending on which deck I'm using, it all depends on there. Because one Hierophant card I can see and think, oh, that's really a positive Hierophant card. Like, for example, the one in Tour Apocalypse. That Hierophant is probably the best Hierophant to get. Because you are actually having Guru be symbolized by youth into elder age. Like the growth of how Guru can be at any age with that deck. This one, notice me. Oh, you better listen to me or going to hell. Come on now. You don't need to have your belief system intimidate anybody. You don't. That's why I see it as a malefic card. In intimidating people, you don't need to intimidate to be connected to divinity or teach divinity. Why? And I don't think divinity wants you to bribe people to believe in it. But that's just me. Oh, here's a good one. The Sun. Instantly, people think, oh, easy. That's the happiest card in the deck. Me. More on the neutral malefic side. How in the heck? Hold on. Look at the Sun. Look at the face. Does that look like a happy face on the Sun? No, it looks like he's spiteful and jealous. Because the Sun is not looking at the child who's enjoying himself. The Sun puts you on the earth to suffer. That's what Sirius does. The soul comes in to burn its karma. While the child is being all happy and glee, and heck, even the horse, if you look at the pony's face, is like, ugh, get off me, kid. And then you have the kid who's not even holding on to the horse and is going, woo! Okay, if the horse decides to go a little bit too fast, the kid's going to fall and break his neck. And if you want to make it even more catastrophic and more mind-bogglingly scary, you notice how the kid is fully exposed, if you catch my drift. Yeah, that's not good. Because the Sun can also show that it's in a position, if it's representing you might actually be in a position where you're completely exposed and everybody can see you because that's also the Sun. You're in a position where you're completely exposed and you are so simple to get pushed off the horse and hurt yourself. Completely exposed to get brought down, get swung at, or be so exposed that you become the laughing stock because you're not protecting yourself. You're not secure. Yep, you see how dark it just got. That's sometimes how you have to look at the stereotypical aspect of everything. Just because it's stereotypically accepted as good doesn't mean it's always good. I mean, like the same thing with the devil. Usually when they see the devil, they're like, oh God, why? Meanwhile, I'm like, oh, that's the best card to get. Or one of the best cards to get. Addiction and being, abused like that? No, that's just the bad side. The bad side of the Sun, well, you're exposed. You're pretty much not burning the karma like you're supposed to be doing, so Sun is agitated. And you might become a joke. And you're careless. Because everything's so perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden, here comes Saturn and knock the wind out of you again. That's just what it is. Not good, bad, or dreadful. It is what it is. Now the next one. The Lovers. Whenever I see the Lovers card, immediately, I think of Lilith telling Yahweh up there, oh, really? What is wrong with you, dude? And look at her hand position. Like, look at her hand position. Really, dude? Really? Really? You want me to submit to that? Really? Really? No, I'm not going to do that. So immediately, I see the lovers. And if it's not a love reading, I can actually see this as a indication of somebody who is being abused or put through a lot of unjust treatment, taking a stand and actually standing up for themselves. So I see this more of a neutral positive card, depending on the context, but and also the depiction, because usually the lover's card can be depicted like this, or the depiction of a man and being caught between two women, and in that case, it's not good. But again, it all depends. Next one, the Magician. I see this as a neutral card. It has immense potential, but it's also a Saturnian card because, again, has the number 8 above his head. And Saturn, as a planet, has complete mastery over the elements and the occult. Mm-hmm. And some people say, well, he's also kind of dressed like Christ too, so can Christ be a part of it? Not really, no. Not really, no. So, and altogether, really, Magician is neutral. It's like the male equivalent to the High Priestess, but it's also the manifester and the one who actually uses the elements to have everything come about. So, really, it's neutral, but it can go in either way. Next one, Justice. Completely neutral. Completely neutral. Not good or bad. It's just whatever you put out towards, you get back in return. If you're an idiot, you get hit in the face. If you do what you're supposed to, then you get what's just deserved for you. It is, if not the heaviest Saturnian card of them all, because Justice is exactly symbolized by Libra. That's where Saturn gets exalted. And when Saturn is in Libra, being the judge and completely neutral, you're now giving him the full, perfect environment for him to use his neutrality to give what's due and give what's good, pretty much the good karma or the bad karma. So if somebody puts out laziness and doesn't do what they're supposed to do, their karmic backlash is them getting, love tap with a cattle prod. But if they do get off their caboose and they're working and doing everything they can and they're taking care of business, then they get the rewards of Saturn for all their hard work and efforts. That's just one of this. It's not good, bad, or dreadful. It's neutral. We're down to the last three of the major, at least. The Empress, pretty much the Divine Mother. Whenever I see the Empress, always positive, always positive. Do not see her as baneful in any way. Again, depending on the depiction, but with this deck, I always see it as positive. Of course, this is a card that's said to also potentially be ruled by Venus, but it's also an exalted moon, because you have the Mother, Divine Mother, with Taurus, the sign owned by Venus. So you have an exalted moon. When Moon's exalted, and when Moon's in her best position in Taurus, which is in the nakshatra planet Rohini, essentially you have Moon being able to provide and feel the most secure and pretty much give what's needed to be a divine mother figure. And when the mother figure is in a state of power, and when the mother figure is able to do what she needs to do without any kind of risk, that's pretty much the best that anybody can ask for, because one gets the proper nourishment, the proper care, and the proper security and the proper upbringing they need in order to best develop. Last two. Temperance. For me, I see temperance, again, usually it's like justice, but for the emotional, taking something from point A to point B. But with this depiction, I kind of see it neutral, meaning that it has all the elements in it. But just because something is being taken from A to B to C, doesn't mean it's being taken through that alchemical process in a good way. So really it all depends on the context and also how it's depicted. But because since it's Archangel Michael, sometimes some people believe it's him doing that. I do not see this being anywhere like Lucifer doing it. Nope. I do not see that. Because there's the Trinity there, and it does not really work that way. So usually I see this again neutral, but it depends on the context. Because there are some depictions of temperance actually being like the card of the alchemist and the alchemical process. Last one. Judgement. I usually see this card as a positive card and a Saturnian card, but primarily it's actually a card of Venus. How in the heck is that a card of Venus? It doesn't look like it's beautiful. In fact, it looks like the dead are walking again. That's what Venus does. Venus raises the dead and comes back to life again. That's the beauty of her. She can raise the dead. But in this depiction, we have Archangel Gabriel blowing it. Going, and all the dead get up and they're all looking up and throwing their hands up just like, what's the big deal? What's the big deal, dude? Why are you blowing that? Come on, dude. We were just nice and asleep. Why are you doing that? So really, Judgement, for me, again, depending on the card and how it's depicted, but for me, this depiction actually shows that there's a higher power or there's something coming in and trying to disturb what's below and to actually have what's already been laid to rest come back again to do something over again. To me, it's not really. It is what it is, but for me, it's kind of not really the best to get because it's again reviving to have it go through everything all over again. It can be good or neutral, but again, it comes through what the depiction is. So that's the major. Okay, fine. For the suit wise, I guess I'll go with the wet ones first. First one, Queen of Cups. For me, whenever this card comes up, it's always positive. Meaning, well, for one, this is my card. What do you mean by your card? But the first Tarot deck I ever got, and it's actually right over there. When I got my first tarot deck, my very first one, many moons ago, we're talking thousands of moons ago. Let me find it. Oh, look at that right there. When I first got this deck and I first looked through it, there was the Queen of Cups. I don't know why, but this card kept pulling to it. I don't know why. But then I figured out, and I read what it was, pretty much what it was representing from the guidebook, which I do not have anymore. I don't even remember what deck this is called. Essentially, that was so resonant with me that pretty much it stuck with me. And because of that, the Queen of Cups for me is always positive. It is the card that shows the most devoted, the most pure, and the one that's actually the most emotionally invested, regardless if it's something in memory or now or in the future. The purest state of water, because you have wet and extra wet. You have pure water, devotion at its best. Page of Cups, earth and water. For me, I see this as more of a soft benefit, but it can also be malevolent because you're being overly woozied by imagination. And it's kind of like the cupcake love card. So it's not real realistic, but it's not bad. It's just that it can be enjoyed for some time, but it has to be able to grow up after some time. So it's a neutral benefit, but again, depending on the depiction. Ace of Cups. Essentially, you have the purest of the water element. And when an element's at its purest, it's always benefit. It's always at its benefit. Three of Cups. For me, I don't like seeing the Three of Cups because now you have three emotions coming together, and it can be all because of one misstep. Something makes this whole party have a foul in it. It's not bad or good. It just has that risk. And because since the depiction actually has them going around in a circle and there's a lot of things to trip over, it can show that potential risk of having this connection or like the individuals within be kind of trapped and they can easily trip on one another. But for me, it's kind of a neutral card. Neutral, neutral risky. Four of Cups. I see the Four of Cups and I immediately think, oh, that's not a good one. Because here's the thing, you have somebody pouting or someone not being aware that, hey, that thing you want, it's in front of your face. Lift your head and then look. Oh, there it is. But you won't lift your head. You're lazy. Malefic card. You want this? Here it is. Just shut up and take it. No? Okay. But I don't want to look up. Okay, then don't complain when you don't get it, kid. Then the Nine of Cups. Usually seen as a wish card. But this one, the Nine of Cups, I see as somebody being very overly egotistical about their Soul of Cups being in the line. Is it bad? No. Is it good? Can be. But it can also be a card saying, yep, I accomplished it, and also I'm enjoying my accomplishment. Okay, woo. The painful side is that not sharing with it and being selfish. Not bad or good, it is what it is. For me, it's neutral to good. Eight of Cups. Turning your back on something you have invested in. And even the moon is in there being depicted, and she's not impressed either. Like, oh, okay. For me, I see this as a card of turning your back on something that you have invested a lot of time and effort in and leaving it behind. For me, Malefic card. How's it malefic? Because sometimes you gotta leave things behind, right? Well, if you made the choice to commit and devote to something, and if you're not going to stick with it because of one minor thing, it's not the other thing you invested in's fault. It's just that you're not willing to stick through it and really figure it out and really push through it. Because like how the lotus flower is, the life of the lotus flower, it starts at the bottom, going through the absolute dirt and the muckiest parts of life to get to the beautiful flower that it is. In order for that lotus to get to that beautiful state, it has to suffer for it. But once it gets through it all, it becomes the most beautiful thing. So turning your back on something because, oh, it's too hard. It's not like how I thought it was going to be. This is so hard. I don't want to go through all this hardship anymore. Boo-hoo, get off your tush and get it done. If you want to get the reward of it. Because if you keep doing that over and over again, turning your back because it's difficult, you're never going to get the reward of anything because you're so used to coming all the way close, but with it. You won't be able to accomplish anything. That's what it is. Not here to be not really being nice and woozy about it, but that's the thing. You have to be able to commit, stick, and see it through. Because, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Especially when it comes to romantic love connection. Believe me. Believe me. Next one. Seven of Cups. Seven of Cups. I see it as a card that is most associated with Rahu. Because it has all this illusion and be like, oh crap, what do I do? The thing is, all the cups are real, but the only one that you grab is the real one. Whichever one you grab is the real one, the other ones are fake. All of them are fake except the one you grab. So this one actually, it has potential to be good and bad, like all the other cards. But this one, I see it and I think it can mainly be like a soft malefic, mostly, because you can be overwhelmed so easily. But no matter which one you choose, whichever one you go with, you have to choose it and stick with it. And go all the way and don't go halfway with it, or even just like a few steps with one of them. Because you're going to be stuck with it. Then you have to start all over again if it doesn't follow the way you want to do. Choose your cup, and pretty much down that cup. All the way through, even if it's not the best taste in your mouth. Two of Cups. Usually I see this card as a card of being selfish. Well, why selfish? Isn't this like the best love soulmate card? But if you notice, look at the one figure on the left and then the other one on the other side. You notice how the one on the other side instead of this one This figure is still holding onto her cup with both hands. He, on the other hand, the other one, already has one cup in his hand, and now he's trying to grab the other cup from her. So, I don't know about you. That's a bit selfish. Is it a good card? Yeah, it can be. But in this one, you have somebody being over selfish and being pretty much thinking about only themselves and nobody else. So Two of Cups can be a very selfish card and it being inconsiderate and kind of rude. I went there. That's because it's not the general woozy woo everyday thing the way I'm looking at it. It does have risk, but it does have that cheesy woozy woo side of it. So whenever I get it, it can be positive, but it does have more of that risk of somebody taking and taking and taking and being selfish and for their own needs instead of the other person. Hello, Killer Brunette. It's been many moons since I've seen you. Next one. 10 of Cups. Of course, seen as the happy woozy woo card of the deck, and pretty much the card that's showing, okay, if the play's over, everybody come together at the last scene and be taking your last bow and then pretty much closing the curtains. Whenever I see it, I tend to see it as a positive card, yep. But at the same time, it's like an over-exaggeration of happiness, which is a front. So, kind of, for me, I like to think, okay, yeah, happy ending, but some of it might be a little overextended and a bit too much. It's like it's overcompensating with that 10 of Cups. Next one. 5 of Cups. Let me see what it said. I'm handling, that's not even a word. I'm hanging in there. There we go. Wrong word choice, but yes, I'm perfectly okay. 5 of Cups. I actually see it as a, believe it or not, a benefit card. But how's it benefit? The figure is sad that he had a party foul. I know. But it goes to show that, hey, those cups could not really fulfill you emotionally. So now that those cups are knocked over and out of the way, if you do an about face and turn around, you notice that there's 2 cups standing. And they still have the fluid in them. So those 2 cups can still nourish you. And the other cups that were, party fouled, punt them. They can't sustain you. So this one's actually, for me, a benefit card because it's showing you the reality of what can and cannot sustain you. 6 of Cups. Essentially, this is the 2 of Cups, but in child form. It's pretty much the real 2 of Cups card because you have 2 children actually giving and receiving on both ends. Like here, you have one handing the cup, and then you have another one. You have another cup that's actually smiling at the other child, and there's that deep connection on the child level, which is the most pure. So that one's actually more of a benefit card than the 2 of Cups. There's no selfishness there. The Knight of Cups. Pretty much, I see it as usually a positive card, but it's kind of a cheesy, woozy kind of a way. But it does have a slight more immaturity than compared to the King and the Queen, but the Knight is a bit more chivalrous. The King of Cups. Of all the cup cards, the King of Cups to me is probably not the best one to get. But he's the king. You should be the best one. I know that. Hold on, I'm grabbing a drink. The issue with the king, though, you have somebody actually using emotions and they're not allowing them to be fully expressed, if that makes sense. Because when you have emotions not being allowed to flow as they are naturally, they begin to build up. You have to let them be able to flow as they are, which is why the Queen of Cups in the cup suit is actually more superior in that regard. And that's why the Queen, to me, outdoes the King easily. No fans, boast, or tushies about it. I'm trying to find where my cup went. I can't find it. I just had my drink and I can't find it anymore. Hold on. Oh, right in front of my face. I have nothing to say. So yeah, the King of Cups. Yeah. You're not allowing. That's a card that's clearly saying you're not. It has potential of emotions being restricted and not being allowed to flow as they are naturally. Naturally can also, for me, this can actually show a card of somebody being narcissistic and not acknowledging their real emotional side and being kind of a little bit arrogant about it. We will go to the Pentacles next. Ace of Pentacles, obviously positive, because you have the Priestess of Pentacles. Three of Pentacles, I usually see it as a really positive card for teamwork, working together as a unit. Not bad or good, but generally positive. Because you're having collaboration and you're having investments of more than one person being involved. Knight of Pentacles, positive card, but it's more positive than bad because Knight of Pentacles, you have slow and steady, but precise. Ten of Pentacles, you have, for me, one of the positive cards in the deck because you have the past, the elderly man, the now, which are the two middle-aged figures in the middle. Then you have the child in the far right. You have all the generations coming together. You have the elderly, you have the now, and then you have the future. You have all of them together into one card, and they're all living together in a secure, sustainable way. So positive card. Two of Pentacles. You have a clown figure juggling two pentacles between a rubber band. For me, I see it as a baneful card, malefic card. Because you have somebody not taking anything seriously of the 3D and they're indecisive. They're actually making a joke out of something that needs to be secure and grounded. Not really the best card to get for security. Queen of Pentacles, you have somebody who is a nurturer, one who is willing to sacrifice to provide for another. I see it as a benefit card. But it can also be malefic because they're being so selfless they forget to care for themselves. Next one. Eight of Pentacles. For me, it is a positive card. It is actually doing work that you enjoy doing. But it's also at the same time, it can be painful because you're neglecting something you're hyper-focused. King of Pentacles. This is where you have fire and earth, which they conflict. Bad. Because with willpower can push you to gain wealth, but with that same wealth, if you don't have the wealth, you won't have the willpower. Or sometimes the willpower is what gets you to the wealth. And with that same willpower, that wealth you get, you use to spend on something else, making you broke again. That's where it can conflict. But the King of Pentacles can actually be, for me, it's more of in the middle of a positive card, primarily. Middle positive, meaning like middle benefit, because you're having somebody being able to have secure their finances and being able to be a guiding figure for finances and the regard. Not really painful in any way, but it can show potentially somebody who's a bit stingy and wealth woozy about him, but it's primarily more on the supportive side. Nine of Pentacles. This one is a narcissistic for me, based on this deck. Because you have the woman figure holding the bird like, oh, what do you want, bird? Do you mind? I'm in my best gown. What do you want? I see it as a painful card in this deck. Very narcissistic. Like, oh, look at you, bird. You think you're worth something? Really? Ugh. Again, it all comes down to how it's depicted. because I'm strictly intuitive. Four of Pentacles. Usually it's a card holding on to something so tightly, but not this one. With this depiction, I see it as a painful card. Because you are all by yourself and holding down three things and having something else hold you down, which is materialistic. And now you're all by yourself. Sitting and going nowhere. Because you're having something being held down and is actually possessing you. And it's controlling you. Not a good one. Six of Pentacles. Easy. Positive card. And a just card. And also actually really a neutral card because it's pretty much providing aid that's just and needed. Not too much, not too little, just right. Neutral. Neutral benefit. Because it gives what's due and what's fair for survival. Five of Pentacles. Probably thinking, oh, bad card. Malefic card. Nope. Benefit. How's that benefit? Simple. You have reality hitting you in the face saying, you need to get off your tush and fix this. And this is also, if not probably, a really strong Saturnian card. Because now you have the reality hitting you in the head. Like, you have nothing. You don't even have a roof over your head. Get off your tush and fix it. And also, depending on the context and how it's depicted, but with this depiction, you have two people. One is severely injured. And you have another one that's pretty much covering themselves and running. And the other person who's severely crippled, they are actually running to keep up with the other person. As far as we know, heck, that person who's really crippled, maybe they must have done something for this other individual to keep them alive. And they had to suffer for it. So as far as I can see, a really benefit card, meaning that no matter through thick or thin, you have an individual who's willing to assist you and stick with you no matter what. Seven of Pentacles. It is actually, for me, it's a benefit card. How does it benefit? Well, simple. You're being shown that in order for something great to come from something, you need to give it time. You need to invest in it. You need to provide for it. Because when you do that and you give it your best effort and you consistently give out the effort towards it and you help it grow, you'll see it grow into what you're wanting it to grow into. But you have to do it. You can't just sit there and look at it and be like, how come I don't got any melons from this melon tree yet? Or honeyberry, it's still a shrub. You ain't going to get your melons yet. Then last but not least, Page of Pentacles. You got rock and you got solid. Earth and earth. I see the Page of Pentacles, positive card. Because you have somebody who wants to learn and be realistic and pretty much take in a skill of learning something that's actually beneficial. It is a Mercurian card because of that. Oh. Hello, Z. Been live for about an hour and 20 minutes. And I'm going through, kind of speed running through this right now because I'm getting exhausted. But I'll just see it through. Next, the blades. Nine of Blades. Nine of Swords. People think, holy, oh my Orlando, this is going to be the easiest. They're all bad. Not this one. Not this. Not all of them are bad. Despite the stereotype, Nine of Swords. People say, oh, that's nightmares, night terrors. Okay. Benefit side of it, though. You actually are amazed that you are kept up night, being so grateful that you're crying about it. You're weeping because a miracle happened. That's why Nine of Swords is a neutral card for me. You're so amazed that you can't help but cry because the wish you wanted, you finally got it. You can only cry to divinity that I finally got what I wanted. I can't believe it. It's bringing me to tears. Those are the best tears. You can't even sleep because you're just so astonished because of it. Divinity has proven to you that it has your back. So have faith. Completely different than like, oh, night terrors, can't sleep, anxiety, can't stop thinking about something bad that happened. Completely different. Get flipped. Next one. Two of Blades. I see it as a card of being negligent, refusing to be able to see on the real world, keeping yourself closed off. You're not being able to take your blindfold off, and you're refusing to acknowledge what's in front of you. You're trying to avoid it. Close yourself off to it, which is being negligent. Ace of Swords. Always, all the aces for me are always benefit. Because you have the purest of the suit being untampered with. Next one. Three of Swords. People immediately think, oh, that has to be a bad one. There's no way that could be good. Nope. Benefit. What are you, freaking nuts, kid? Nope. Benefit. With this Three of Swords, do you happen to see any blood coming out of the blades? Is the heart bleeding? Nope. Is it stabbed? Yes. Is it bleeding? No. Is there raindrops keep falling on the heart? Yeah. But here's the thing. Even though the heart is gravely injured and severely hurt, it's still alive. It's still standing. It's not dying. It's not bleeding out. It's not losing life. It's still standing. Benefit. And also, this is a card that's actually with Saturn and Libra. Exaltation of Saturn. Saturn is able to understand that sacrifice has to be done. The heart has to be hurt in order for there to be a full, deep connection. Sacrifice is required. Marriage requires sacrifice. It's a good thing. Benefit. Don't like it? Well, I don't go with tradition sometimes. Deal with it. Page of Swords. Malefic. Because you have a child wielding a blade. When you have an immature person wielding a blade around, they can severely hurt people if they're not careful. Painful. Malefic. They don't know what they're doing with it. She who's not having it. Always benefit. How is the Queen of Swords always benefit? Isn't she known as the deck? Kind of. If you want to look at it just that way. Because the Queen of Swords is one, of course, who doesn't put up with BS. But she's the one that cares about you so much that she'll tell you you're stupid. If she didn't care, she would never tell you were stupid. That's just her energy. She's willing to tell you to stop being an idiot. And you're being a jackass, so stop it. And you need to be doing what needs to be done. Whether you love it or not, she could care less. She just expects you to do it, and now. No fans, butts, or tertiaries about it, so get with it or off with your head. Sorry, I have a cold sore and I'm trying to tell it to pissy fitting. Gotta love cold sores, but anyway. What? We're all ladies here. Keep your weave on. Next one. Eight of Swords. Actually, I see the Eight of Swords is actually a really benefit card. But how's that benefit? How's that beneficial? It's a card of being restricted and just ground and relax. Don't move, don't go anywhere. Fine, come back to your center. Because if you're in a situation where you're stuck like that, keep cool. Then things progress much better beyond that. Benefit. Self-control. Four Blades. Benefit. Everybody has to rest. Everybody has to stop. Everybody has to take a moment to find the center. Same thing, kind of like with the Eight of Swords again. Relax. Next one. Five of Blades. Malefic. Being smug about winning something, but in reality, you want nothing because you think, oh, I beat these two in a duel, I get their blades. Well, you being egotistical just shows, oh, Somebody thinks they're hot shit, so they're going to be overly confident and they think, oh, nobody's going to take me out. Then Saturn gives them a wake-up call. 10 of Blades. Positive. He has all the sorts in his head and his body. How is that positive? Something is overkilled. And then the new comes from behind the back. It's like the tower. The new foundation is coming, but from something completely new, different perspective and a different part of life. New element. 7 of Blades. Believe it or not. Neutral. A thief? Well, yeah, neutral. Some people steal because they have to in order to survive. Some people steal because they want a game. It all depends on the depiction and what's the intent. So it's a neutral card. It can go either way. King of Blades. Completely neutral. Just fair, precise. Not good, not bad, but needs to be fair and know how to use his blade when it needs to be used for. And not be swayed. 6 of Blades. Always benefit. Because you're having two being ferried to a different place of living. So they're leaving the past behind for a new future ahead. Knight of Swords has more risk of being malefic than benefit. Because you're having somebody go Hong Kong Fooey face first into God knows what. But again, it is air and air, so it is in his own element. But because something's in his own element doesn't mean it's always good. Like Mars, like a Motricon on Mars. Mars and Aries. Mars is in a position where he feels comfortable, yes, but is it a good thing? Not always. The next and last, not least, the beating sticks. The wands. Queen of Twigs. Always benefit. Because you have somebody being like a cheerleader. The motivator. King of Twigs. Mainly neutral. Because the King of Twigs can be somebody who thinks he's hot shit and knows how to handle his big stick. And he thinks he's the hottest thing around. When egotistical gets too much, not really, you can turn malefic real fast, but neutral. Knight of Twigs. You have the Burning Wind. Neutral, but mainly malefic. Because the Knight of Wands can become hot and blowing. It can pretty much not last long, but it's quick and hot. Hot temper, too. Page of Twigs. You have a conflict. You have confliction again. You have the heat and then the earth. You have the earth trying to understand the flaming. Which the mundane, everyday, is trying to actually take on the inspiration. So you can actually have somebody being kind of like how Naruto is. I can be it, believe it. I'm kind of obnoxious than anything. So for me, it's more of a nuisance malefic. But it's not usually bad. 7 of Twigs. Depending on the context. Some people don't want to defend anything, so they can see that card as being malefic. But there's some people that are willing to pretty much fight tooth and nail for something and be benefic. So for me, it's neutral. Next, 2 of Twigs. Neutral. You have to make a choice. You choose one stick or the other stick. Whatever one you choose, it's in your control. So hurry up and choose your stick. Choose wisely. 8 of Twigs. I see that as potentially more of a benefit card than a malefic card, but it can be malefic because you have sticks going Hong Kong Fooey to God knows where. Benefit side though, you have the heat going in hot. Sticks ahoy. Go for the head. 5 of Twigs. Obviously completely malefic. You have Mortal Kombat happening in that card. You have 5 kids beating the living heck out of each other. No order, complete chaos, and hectic. Malefic. 6 of Twigs. Card of Victory. And some people say it's Benefic. I see it as neutral. It could be malefic because you have somebody thinking they're hot shit. Being overly egotistical and everybody's like, yay! Yay for he with the biggest stick. Woo! Woo. Ace of Twigs. Always benefit because it's an ace. 3 of Twigs. It's a positive one. It's a card that gives you inspiration to actually get out there and get off your tush and wield your sticks around. If you want to take it that way, you can. Deal with it. 9 of Twigs. Malefic, because it's fear-based. You cannot function from a state of fear. You have to let it go. It's mainly malefic because it's blinding you from doing what you need to be doing. 4 of Twigs. Benefic. Because it's a card that you're actually celebrating the willpower and the foundation you've made from it. 10 of Twigs. People say it's malefic. I see it as benefic because you're taking back home the gains of the efforts you put in. So it's a benefit card for me. And that's the Raider-Waite Smith. For me, do I like using this deck? Absolutely not. But why though? Without it, no other deck would be. Yeah. But here's the thing. I don't go with the crowd. I do not like going with the crowd. I like decks that are primarily their own thing, and like cards that stand out. I like decks that break tradition, or if they do go with a standard, like the setup and how it's structured, but they add their own little twist to it and allow it to be unique, then I'm all for it. But Raider-Waite Smith, it's standard, and I don't like things being basic. I don't. But with a Thoth Tarot, I don't have one. I don't have a 12th Tarot, so I can't say anything about the 12th Tarot. I don't have a Pip deck, so I can't say anything about the Pip deck. But I do not like the Pip decks. I don't. Because to me, I have to say, well, you're lazy. You're taking the playing card suit theme, you're putting it with the deck. And then you're adding the majors and then the core cards to it. You're lazy. I don't like Pip decks for that reason. Are they still a valid Tarot deck system? And can they still be rid with? Absolutely. But for me personally, I don't like them. Because you're having the suit, one of the suit, and then 2, 3, 4, and all the way to the 10 of the suit. You're limiting yourself. Don't limit yourself on making your deck. Let it flow. But that depends on the person who's making the deck. I can't really think about anything else, but I'm exhausted, to be honest. But really, that was pretty much the first of like the series of me going through every deck that I have, and going through each deck, going through it like, okay, here's this how this card's depicted in this deck, what I think about it, good, bad, whatever. And not every deck I read is the same, because one deck I might say, oh, this card is like a sign of something malefic happening, and then the same card in a different deck, well, this one's a benefit card. Like the Hierophant from the Raider-Waite Smith, this Hierophant, compared to, say, the Hierophant of, let's go with the traditional Celtic tarot, where actually has an elderly figure man and a child climbing a tree, and the elderly figure is actually pointing, and the youth is actually looking up and being guided by the elder figure. That's a benefit, because you're having the elder teach the child. You're having the elderly give the wisdom to the child. That's the focus of that depiction. Not like, I am a guru, notice me, you're going to hell. Completely different. Completely different. And that's why also being an intuitive reader and allowing yourself to break away from just what the cards mean by the book, you were actually able to have a much more of a depth of understanding of how a deck can be speaking in a different way and in a different language, if that makes sense. Because not all decks speak the same language, which is the intuition. One deck may say one way, and in another deck with the same card, the card's the same, just depicted differently. The message is completely different. And that's why I urge everybody to be more of an intuitive reader than by just what the book says. Because if you just read by the book, yeah, you can read with any deck, but it's going to be so robotic and basic that it's wasted potential. Don't waste your potential. Don't limit yourself. Because if you keep limiting yourself, you're never going to really be able to advance where you have the highest potential to advance to. And why would you restrict and limit yourself? I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm probably going to end the stream here. I might be on tomorrow. And actually, I got something earlier today that I might actually share tomorrow. But yeah, I'm going to take my leave here. So.